Hey there folks, it's me TheTacticalBrit, and I'm actually away right now. I'm visiting some family in London. I'm currently closing in on my 21st birthday, so I've basically just been taking the week off, watching some NFL, playing some games. I actually nearly got close to playing and finishing Red Dead Redemption. We'll see if I get anywhere with that. But yeah, Battlefield had a new update, a new meme, finally. 4.4 finally released. It took a while, but it's here, and seemingly everything has been okay. So in this video today, I'm going to be dissecting 4.4 and talking about the necessary steps that DICE needs to make next in order to make some positive improvements for Battlefield 5. So let's break it down. 4.4 introduced some pretty interesting changes. We've had a nerf to MMGs, which whilst probably not very noticeable on PC, I imagine that people on PlayStation and Xbox have certainly felt the nerf a little bit more, seeing as recoil compensation is a little bit trickier with console sticks. But ultimately a pretty good patch. I think we've seen stability improved. For those of you who aren't aware, if you're on PC, clearing your Origin cache will actually significantly improve your Battlefield 5 performance, as well as doing a fresh install in conjunction with that. It's something I did on my PC at home just before I left, and every update, I don't recommend a full uninstall, but definitely clearing some caches when big updates and big performance changes come in. Now, speaking of performance, this video today is brought to you by the guys over at Aorus Gaming. They are my channel-wide sponsor for PC parts and have more or less all the necessary components, including motherboard and RAM, in my PC. I highly recommend them, whether you're looking for brand new tactical gaming monitors, insanely fast NVMe SSDs, or just fantastic performance across the board. Please check them out in the link in the description below. But moving on, what else have we really got in this patch? Well, mostly stability by the looks of things. I think the game certainly feels in a better state. I played some games last night on PlayStation, recorded some on a PC, which isn't my own, it's actually my brother's, seeing as I'm visiting family. And, you know, it seemed a little bit more fluid. I'll have to wait till I get back into my own setup to really make a decision on that. But it certainly felt as though things were moving a bit more fluidly, and I was noticing less instances where the game just felt pretty scummy. I'm sure you've all experienced, you know, getting killed behind a corner or some mad stutter that just ruins your day. And it looks as though that's heading in the right direction, and hopefully we'll see some more improvements in 4.6, which isn't too far away, as well as also the Metro remaster, which again, hopefully isn't too far away. On the negative side of things, we have a brand new ping problem in the game. This is something that's actively being worked on at the moment, which is pretty cool. There is actually a brand new Trello board, which is available everywhere on Twitter, Reddit, and everything in between. So if you find a bug, or you think a bug is in the game, you can see whether it's actually been acknowledged and actively being worked on. It's finally an update that I think a lot of us are looking forward to, and there is plans to introduce it to the main page of Battlefield as well, so people can stay up to date with what's happening and what issues are being addressed, which is something that I've been advocating at feedback events for about a year now, and I'm really glad we're finally seeing this introduced into the game. But on the whole, negative-wise, we had the ping issue. The ping issue is actually a pretty big one because, of course, higher pings equal worse netcode. Worse netcode equals more situations where you've got bullets flying around corners that are killing you, where damage isn't either sent or received properly. And of course, ultimately, it does degrade the gameplay experience. Now, I've been very lucky to be in some servers where ping hasn't been as high as 20 or 30, but I have been in some servers where nobody's got like below 60, even though it's an EU server. Now, hopefully this will be addressed soon. It appears that they're actually making some progress on it. They've stopped matchmaking people out of region, which was a small bug that appeared. And for once, it appears not only have we had a patch which has had minimal damage in terms of bugs it's created, but also a patch that, for once, seems to be addressing issues that have appeared in it relatively quickly. Now, all of this hopefully represents a new dynamic with Battlefield. I know for a damn fact that a lot of you are like me. You've basically given up hope. You're slightly low-key praying that the beta for Call of Duty releases a little bit earlier. But, you know, somewhere down the line, be it the Pacific or whatever comes after that, it'd be really nice to be able to play Battlefield in a relatively solid state. Now, that's not to say that this update has, like, completely changed my mind and I'm suddenly overjoyed in returning to the game. It just means it's a good step in the right direction to hopefully bringing me back to playing more consistently. But all in all, it's just really nice to have a patch that, for once, actually fixes more than it breaks, and I really do feel as though this is quality over quantity. This update was delayed for about a couple of days or a week or so, but ultimately we've had a better experience from it, And if it means all in all just getting rid of this whole 2-week cycle where we just update things far too regularly and things break, I'm personally fine with that and an advocate for it, as long as we can address critical issues that appear very quickly. And hopefully, again, this is a step in the right direction. 4.6 will likely be the next update that will make some serious changes. If that comes out in a good state as well, I think for once we might actually have a tiny bit of faith restored in the community, and we might be able to see the game go to the good steps for the Pacific. And if the Pacific happens to be a really great DLC, combined with a relatively stable launch, I think a lot of us are going to be pretty happy with the game later in the year. Now again, it shouldn't have taken this long to get to this point, but here we are, so let's see what happens, right? So really, onwards and upwards with 4.6, we're seeing that release supposedly at the end of September, which will introduce the Operation Underground Metro remake, which is probably the best map I've seen in the game so far. It's definitely going to be a fan favorite, it's something I really enjoyed, and I imagine lots of people will as well. But what's next? What do we really need to see next? Well, for once, we need to see some serious quality of life stuff. Now, these upgrades and updates have been nice, but the game should be in a stable state, and once it is, and finally in that position, we do need to see the game head in a very good direction. For example, here are some fixes and changes that I feel are necessary to improve the game. Number one, stop having these stupid animations where your teammates are like dying on the ground and rolling around all over the place. Now, naturally the brain, and for those of you who've played lots of FPSs, are drawn towards movement. And whenever you see one of your teammates just roll around on the floor, your eyes naturally protrude towards that position, and if somebody is actually nearby who's moving, it becomes a conflict. You don't want people moving on the ground if they're dead. It becomes a bit problematic. Just let them lay down, give them the bleed out screen, maybe let them move their head so they can see what's around them like they had before, but none of this arm waving crap. It gets really in the way, and it's actually more detrimental to first person shooter gameplay than anything else. Speaking of animations, we just need to get rid of these backwards prone animations. Now, lying down backwards is interesting, but it's not Rainbow Six, you know, it's not... I don't really see the need for it, to be honest with you. I don't think it makes a dramatic difference to anything you do in-game, but what I do know is that it makes it incredibly difficult to see players, and this animation isn't something I particularly recommend, especially allowing people to lie backwards into bushes. I'm just not here for that. Don't do that. Get rid of it. It's a waste of time. It destroys FPS gameplay. It encourages negative gameplay, and that's not something we're really looking for. Moving on, anti-material rifles and MMGs. These need to be addressed, changed, fixed, got rid of, whatever it is in between. MMGs, personally, should just be an absolute mess of a weapon. These guns shouldn't really have a place in Battlefield, in my opinion, and anything that is a low-skill point and click shouldn't be in the game. Anti-material rifles are just this really scummy thing that, in my opinion, should just be pickup weapons. Now, whilst they are really interesting in terms of, you know, what they do, the fact that they can damage tanks, they shouldn't be a primary weapon. No weapon in Battlefield should be as simple as point, click, dead, with basically zero skill. You can more or less shoot somebody in the leg with an anti-material rifle, and they will go down. Now, on paper, these guns are bad guns. They're not guns worth using, but when you get killed by one from one person who's adamant that they enjoy them, then it's just this stupid situation where, you know, you could have done everything right. You could have shot the opponent in the head, you could have got the headshots, the body shots, but if he one-bangs you, that's it. It's a GG, it's a waste of time. And again, both encourages prone and negative gameplay, but also encourages people to just use scumbag weapons, one-click weapons, easy skill mode weapons, and it just shouldn't be there. I'd much rather something like K-bullets that we had in Battlefield 1 that do damage to tanks, or make the anti-material rifles gadgets, put them as like half damage to people, but buff the damage they do on tanks, provided that tanks themselves actually receive some kind of health buff because they're already in a relatively weak state. Just get rid of them. Waste of time. Really bad weapons that just encourage scum style play in Battlefield. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people just feel that way. As for MMGs, you know, these are a tricky one because I feel as though they are weapons that could still be in a Battlefield game. We've always had things like the M249, we've always had things like the SAW, we've always had just all of these machine guns have always existed. It's just the element of MMGs where something is so incredibly fast in terms of fire rate that you basically have zero time to react to it, let alone the encouragement of proning onto the ground and using bipods. I, for one, would significantly limit the movement of players. I'd make them slower and more sluggish to disencourage them using the guns, but also I would actually just make these weapons significantly more worse in terms of recoil. And I think this is when balancing for PC and console needs to become different, because on console, increasing recoil and things like that will definitely change stuff, but on PC, it honestly won't make that big a difference. So I really hope we see some balancing changes to MMGs, get rid of the backwards animations that allow people to prone in bushes. Just any of that stuff just shouldn't really be in the game. Anything that's point-click dead is not something I advocate. But that's it. That's more or less where I'm thinking and feeling about Battlefield right now. Let me know how you're thinking about the game in the comment section below. As always, folks, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon in another video.